my presentation?
We see it fine, doctor.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I'm going to, as a colleague told, I'm going to present some some data about the circular economy in the livestock production. I will divide my presentation in two big parts. The first, I will talk about our, I would like to say, European policy of circular economy in relation to the livestock production, and the second part in which I will try to explain our experimental approach, since I am a researcher in the livestock sector, which is our experimental approach when we want to apply a circular economy project, for example. I would like just to rob a few minutes to present our research institute, since this is our first collaboration, I would say, our first participation on the other side of the ocean. So few minutes to present our research institute. As the colleague told, we belong to the Department of Small Farm Animals, and we are a small department, as you see, 5 senior researchers, Lubomir Ondruska, our director, and few workers. About our scientific and research priorities are the studies and research activity on breeding genetics, nutrition, reproduction, and the biotechnological methods in rabbit and poultry breedings, preservation, evaluation, and characterization of genetic resources. We have rabbit and poultry mainly. We have also a small nucleo of sheep, our national, I would say, Slovak national breed, for improving the performance characteristic, conservation of biodiversity in the agrarian landscape, since we monitor population like hare and partridge, for the, of course, for the dynamics population information, and of course for the monitoring of the health status of this animal. We have also, of course, conservation of genetic stabilization and the possibilities of utilization of original meat lines, especially for rabbit meat production, national breed of rabbits, and also on lion hens, as you can see on the first picture. Increasing the production of potentially of small farm animals for production of functional food. This is my main area of interest. Long experience in the application of the dietary strategy with the use of feed additives for the improving of animal welfare and, of course, the quality of the production. Molecular genetics markers in selection of rabbits and poultry, and innovation of biotechnological methods in reproduction. This is for both species. Utilization of small farm in biomedicine research, together with the Veterinary University of Medicine. Support of biodiversity in agrarian landscape, research of population dynamics and health in field game. Farm breeding of brown hare, and you can see, you can see our experimental unit that we have for brown hare living in a couple in this wood cage. We can see in this picture on the right our rabbit experimental unit. We have a rabbit farm. This is a detail of our cages for rabbit, and this is a Nitransky breed, national Slovak breed. And in this picture, you can see a detail for the regarding poultry, Japanese quail experimental unit. Of course, you can see here some eggs. Our production for Japanese quail is eggs and of course also meat. We in Europe we have a small market regarding Japanese quail meat. Actual research project ongoing. We have several research projects. Most of them are regarding genetic aspect, but also the application, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, application of feed additives in animal nutrition for the monitoring of the livestock performances. Our international cooperation and collaboration, most of them are in the Central Europe and of course from Italy, since I come from Italy, but totally moved in Slovakia in the last year. So coming back to the main purpose of this presentation, as I mentioned, I will give some information about what circular economy means when we are in the livestock sector. So we can start telling that agriculture is a critical and a crucial sector of the European countries' economy. You can see a detail from the first figure on the right, as Janakis et al. Reported in a recent publication. And it's important for food, feed, and bioresources production that help sustain society. This sector, in particular, is at the center of the challenge, considering also its impact on the greenhouse gas emission associated with the population growth, food security, climate changing, and resources scarcity. In the last 50 years, agriculture has become more resource intensive, trusting heavily and availability of fossil inputs in terms of in the form of synthetic nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizer, oil-derived agrochemicals, and fossil fuel. So nowadays, the high intensification of crop production and the high intensification of the livestock husbandry has separated both sectors, so that dairy or meat or egg or other kind of animal production are concentrated in one place, and crop production are grown and concentrated in another place. A strong example is the decoupling of animal farm and land property that was a typical phenomena we have observed in the last 40, 50 years, especially in Europe. This parallelism between cropping system and the livestock has caused an imbalance in nutrients, increasing the environmental impact of both industries. First effect of this situation is the dependence on mineral fertilizing in crop growing areas, and an excess concentration of nutrients in livestock production areas. On the other hand, livestock is one of the main generators of anthropogenic CO2, including the transportation of animal food to livestock facilities, for example. The mismanagement of the waste generated can produce a series of environmental impacts, such as contamination of soil, eutrophication of nearby water resources, or generation of bad odors, for example. In livestock is a big problem. And on the other hand, the increase in the population worldwide has pushed crops systems to increase their production and cultivation area, of course. increasing the consumption of mineral fertilizer. Supplying a higher amount of fertilizer than required by the crops does not result only in an increase on the carbon footprint due to the energy used to obtain the mineral fertilizer, but also in problems associated with nutrient pollution, such as eutrophication and the hypoxia of water bodies. Some technology, such as anaerobic digestion and ammonia stripping, have been used to produce biogas and digestate as a means to reduce the environmental impact of the livestock practice and activities. Nevertheless, most of these studies start directly from generate waste and analyze whether it is possible to obtain valuable products from it, for example, since its composition is invariant. In addition, it is necessary that the digestate meets certain requirements so that it can be used as a fertilizer as well. Based on this information, this preliminary information, an integrated system covering the intensive livestock and crop management is strongly required. Integrate crops and livestock system promote nutrient recycle by converting cellulosic ruminant feed into protein, high quality protein, I would say, and nutrients from livestock manure into the cell structure of crops, for example. The application of manure through grazing in organic farming has already shown to improve nutrient recycling and pest suppression by promoting soil quality and biodiversity. And we already know that this is a practice, one of the most common practice used in our sector. Wool, farm models, and nutrient balance approaches, which required the assessment of nutrient reserves, inputs, export, and losses, can be used to evaluate and establish the best management system for ruminants production, reducing the environmental impact of agriculture. Recently, in Spain, an integrated model has been developed for the optimal operation of intensive livestock and crop production. The framework integrates a model for estimating energy and nutritional requirements applied to beef cattle. This was an example on beef cattle, a model of the waste treatment process, and a nutrient recovery system. In addition, the optimization framework considers the area for the crops and other supplementary materials such as water, food supplement, and chemicals. The optimal fertilizer formulation is also considered, and a multi-objective approach of the integrated system is carried out, comparing the result with the traditional intensive livestock. So on this basis, circular economy principles can offer many opportunities for a livestock sector to become more resource efficient. But I would like to do a very quick coming back on the definition of a circular economy. That is a generic term for an industrial economy that is producing no waste and pollution, theoretically, of course, and in which material flows are of two types. We can have biological nutrients designed to re-enter the biosphere safely, and the technical nutrients, which are designed to circulate at high quality in the production system without entering the biosphere, as well as being restorative and regenerative by design. This is in contrast to the linear economy, which is a take, make, dispose model of production. And this was also the characteristic of the livestock of maybe 100, 120 years ago. And sometimes is also something regarding, I would say, modern country. So the main purpose of the circular economy, that is graphically on the figure that you see, I'm sorry, that you see on this slide, is the production of agriculture and the livestock commodities using minimal external inputs, closing nutrient loops, and reducing negative discharges to the environment in the form of, for example, wastes and, of course, emissions. So examining the entire agri-food system from the circular economy perspective, we can relieve opportunities in all stages, from primary production using precision agriculture techniques and precision livestock practice. This kind of approach, of course, it's able for the recycling and the utilization of agricultural wastes in animal nutrition, for example, to the production of functional foods. Precision livestock production and practice, of course, can enable and enhance the level of control over the application of inputs, fertilizer and agrochemicals that reflects geospatial variability in soils, microclimate and other relevant husbandry parameters. Precision livestock utilize the capability of information technology system to optimize the application of livestock procedures by delivering the right amount at the right time in the right place, thereby ensuring that the minimal resources needed are used for the production stage in order to achieve optimum performance with minimal environmental or impact. While not directly contributing to the circulation, precision livestock farming address the use of minimal levels of invested resources that is essential to achieving sustainable agriculture production. Last week I was in Hungary for another congress, and for example, on this approach, in light of this kind of approach, a colleague from Hungary presented a non-invasive method for growing pig based on the face AD, for example. So what we have usually on our mobile, for example, iPhone and others. So the pig is going through the in front of the feeder, and with the face ID, technology software is, of course, is able to provide it the right amount of the right amount of diet in the right time. So everything is totally monitored. And of course, this kind of approach can give a big help in the light of circular economy. So taking in consideration some solution about this big challenge, and I would say also problem to solve, the bioeconomy in livestock use renewable biological resources such as food agro wastes to produce animal food and animal feed, to novel and innovative feed additives, and new source of energy, supporting the design of sustainable agro-livestock system, which remain a priority for research and the policy maker. Many agriculture wastes are ideal raw materials for biological processes to create new products or existing products by new process. So based on new process, providing a major innovation opportunity for the European industry. There are many agriculture material flow that are perceived as waste in the subjective opinion, in the general opinion, or I would say not expert, not in field opinion. But they may be valuable resources in the agricultural system. To overcome this ambiguity, it has become important to categorize the agricultural wastes that are generated each year and in all countries. Many agricultural wastes are necessary materials arising from food production system, typical described as bay products, and we all of us know that all countries or most of them are full of these byproducts, and we have to organize their disposal. Co-products or residues like manure, crop residues, leaves, peels, and other kind of waste. The classification of material stream as waste or resources has influenced how they are treated, with the term resources highlighting a potential value in comparison to waste, which currently implies it has a little or no value and incurrent cost. Livestock manure, just for examples, may be viewed by some people as a waste, but it is a valuable fertilizer from agricultural land due to its value as a nutrient source and soil conditioner. And all of us know that is common to the reuse of manure, livestock manure in agriculture, of course, under a lot of law to discipline this kind of utilization. So farmers have also utilized crop residues such as straw to maintain soil organic matter levels and improve soil structure. This example highlights that classifying what once was considered wastes as a resource, such as incorporating manure into nutrient management planning, this provides a template for policy to change how the, in our case, European community recognize and valorize agricultural waste in a circular economy. So the livestock sector in this slide play a key role in addressing many sustainable development goals. Livestock practice are associated with externalities including climate change, land degradation, and the biodiversity loss. This situation calls all member states to set up and enabling environment and the policy to mitigate the impacts of climate change while pursuing the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. In the livestock sector, strong policies are needed to optimize its contribution to achieving the 2030 agenda. An example, in 2018, ministries of the Globe Forum for Food and Agriculture emphasized the role of the livestock sector in 4 domains of sustainability. So ensuring food security and nutrition, improving the livelihoods, conserving natural resources and addressing climate change, improving the animal health and the animal welfare to enhance synergies and manage trade-off in strengthening livestock policy. As we can see, FAO clearly supports policy work towards sustainability livestock from a social, an economic, and an environmental perspective, and the development of methods and tools to support science and evidence-based policy. In addition, I would say that FAO and the European Commission support pilots, studies, and assessment of technical and policy option, support capacity building, and facilities intergovernmental and the multi-stakeholders dialogue. And an example of support is the, as I put in this slide, this symbol, the Interreg program, which include a macro area of financing in circular economy in particular. And our group of research, we are going to submit a project proposal in the next spring. So in the light of searching for solution, I would like to briefly present our contribution, and so in terms of research, so to circular economy policy and knowledge for a good practice in livestock. As I mentioned at the beginning, I would like to give you an example of our experimental approach, and together with the environmental impact that it's as important as other aspect in this kind of approach. Livestock sector is pushed in searching for solution by legal impacts as well. In fact, we can see as, for example, in Europe, we have two regulations, and in particular 1831 and 574, who pushed our sector to, from one side, to exclude the use of antibiotics as a growing promoter in livestock production. And the second regulation to, for example, what is close to us, giving a lot of limits for the use of a coccidiostatic, for example, medication in rabbit, just for an example, in rabbit husbandry. So nowadays, consumers are increasingly interested in the use of healthy and sane food, and this is a strong opinion worldwide, I would say, not only European point of view. For this reason, researchers are increasingly oriented to the search for a combination of consumers' demand and ecological problem of waste. For example, the recovery of natural molecules used as a dietary supplement or enriched packaging. This is a I would say like a frontier in our country. So the use of smart, I would say, smart packaging with the biofilm enriched of some feed additives with for example the spray cooling techniques, just to longer the shelf life of the animal product, for example. So all this discussion is, and this is our main goal, to improve the shelf life of animal products, and so biofunctional food, with a particular regarding to the physical, to the sensorial, and I would say also nutritional characteristics, and this is our base, to improve the quality of animal welfare, of course. Giving to an experimental approach and just to share our approach, I would say that we have 2-3 main milestones in which we strongly work on. First of all is the evaluation of the animal welfare. Doing this kind of evaluation, of course, it's totally based on the blood sampling of all the animal we are going to test and to investigate. As you see, what will be the result of this kind of evaluation is a biochemical parameters profile, and as you see, it is totally similar to the human, I would say, human profile. So we do the same in animal production. So in the monitor of the welfare of the animal livestock. Doing a lot of, I just mentioned some of parameters, but the profile is usually very, very rich. And from the other point of view, the monitor of the plasma oxidative status markers. So going behind to all these kind of acronyms that we don't need to go in deep, what I want to underline that with this kind of evaluation, this kind of investigation, we can totally monitor the antioxidant profile of the animal. So we are totally sure if the animal are in a good animal welfare or in a bad animal welfare or status. Feed intake, stereotype behavior, and clinical sign are our, I would say, ABC. Why? Recovery of waste, use of feed additives, go through any kind of injection, injection by syringe and or other kind of administration. Our strategy is the dietary strategy. So physiology of nutrition, basically physiology of nutrition. So the feed intake, it's an important parameter for us. And of course, the control, the check of the stereotype behavior of a species, of an animal species that should stay in the range of some behaviors is very, very important for us. And of course, with the support of the veterinary unit to monitor daily all clinical signs. Another very important, our second, I would say, milestone is the evaluation for the, of course, in the circular economy approach, is the evaluation of animal performance. All this kind of evaluation go through to the control of the body weight, for example, that are done. These kind of controls are done at the beginning. Several intermediate check, and of course the final check of the body weight, for example. In office, determination of all kind of index for the evaluation of this period of growth, and control of feed consumption, as I mentioned before, control to slaughter. That means body weight before the slaughter, after slaughter, carcass reliefs, carcass controls, and of course, finally, the evaluation of the dressing percentage from a livestock point of view. Another important step is the quantification of the gene expression related to the production parameters. This is important. This is done by our genetic area in our institute, and it's really important for the selection of, in the light of the circular economy, the selection of the good parents for the animal that we are investigating. So in this kind of I would say this kind of information give us the possibility to select the right line of a population, of an animal population, and to program future breeding program exactly specific for that animal lines. These are really important information for us. I would like to close my my presentation with this last aspect, that is the evaluation of the animal product. Of course, we do in this slide I reported what we do usually on meat, for example, for meat production. And we do all kind of physical, chemical, and of course, nutritional parameters, nutritional analysis. And I don't want to forget also all the antioxidant profile that we carry out on this kind of samples or this kind of biological matrix. The main reason of this kind of selected analysis are because we use the most of agro waste we use are full of, for example, polyphenols that I'm totally sure that you know about them. This strong antioxidant molecule very present and common in the most of the agro waste. So using these agro waste as a feed additives or feed ingredients, of course, it's mandatory, I would say, to monitor also this kind of results on the final product or the final animal product. And the last is the quantification of the gene expression related to animal growth. Also in this case, we can do specific genetic analysis on the animal product to select which parents and which lines are better for the economic point of view. So in this also in this case, this kind of data can give us the possibility to select the best of that population and to go on this way. So concluding, I would like to thanks again the organizing committee for the kind invitation. It was a pleasure, and I hope to contribute with my presentation to this interesting Congress. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for your interesting talk, Dr. Vizzarri. Next, I will read the comments and questions that the attendees made in the chat, and we will listen to your feedback. First question made by Hector Poggi. Thank you for sharing your vision on the transformation of the agriculture and animal husbandry. In Mexico, it was a practice to supplement copper salts to the feed of pigs as growth promoter. Can you comment on the environmental consequences of this practice and whether there is a new generation of more adequate growth promoters for pigs?
Yes, thanks for the question. This is my colleague in Milano. They are expert on this kind of in Italy. They are expert on this kind of supplement in pig. Actually, there are some negative aspects on this kind of supplementation. From one side, we can surely say that this kind of elements are a sure growth promoter. So the science, the knowledge are I would say consolidate. From the other hand, I would underline that sometimes just because the pig manure are strongly impacting the environment, when we do I would say an over administration or an overuse of this kind of element, of course they will go directly through the intestine, directly to the manure, so they are not available for the animal. And we are going to for sure to rise the pollution impact of our waste. From the other side, I would also say that, for example, in Europe, we have a strong law about the management and the distribution, the utilization, the second utilization of the manure provided by pig farms. And a lot of controls we have to do before to use this kind of manure. On the other hand, the second part of the question, whether there is a new generation more adequate growth promoter in pigs, I would say we are testing, for example, algae. Our last it's not published yet, but our last work in Italy was the use of dietary use of algae, for example. Chlorella is really interesting algae. It's a green algae, and gave us great results on pig growth. There are also other I would say Verbascoside. It's another great antioxidant and also growth promoter substances, and many others.
Thank you very much. We are eager to read your research. And the next questions made by Amori Abrego. Thank you. Thanks for your excellent talk, Dr. Vizzarri. Regarding the contribution of livestock and global warming, which strategy among diet formulation, grazing management, and manipulation of rumen microbiota by antimethanogenic compounds is more suitable for non-developed countries?
Thanks for this second question. This is harder than the first, just because about the global warming, of course, I would say that sometimes there was an instrument use of our sector, the livestock sector, for this kind of problem. I don't want to say that livestock can, it's not it's not my I would say my opinion to express that livestock has not impact, but the impact that the livestock has on from the global warming is a percentage that is at the moment absolutely under control. Regarding the which strategy among the diet formulation, there are feed additives. There are a lot of in USA, but also in Europe. There are a lot of experimental experience on the use of the feed additives. In particular, I would mention, for example, lycopene. I would mention again algae, not chlorella, but brown algae. I would say as a efficient strategy for the mitigation of the, for example, gas emission in ruminant. The main of the experience are on the big ruminant. I would say cows, buffalo. You know, the most of the market and the livestock market is oriented and is based on the big ruminants. That's why the most of the experience that we find in literature are regarding this big with the big ruminant like cows, buffalo, and others. About the rumen microbiota, I would say that the genetic can help us. There are, and it's called, and I would say this will be part of our of the project that we are going to present next year. For example, we have found in a pilot in a pilot experience that there are there is a strong correlation between the gene expression, selected gene expression, and the use of feed additives. These gene expression are strongly correlated with the regulation, down regulation, up regulation, of course, in both cases, of the microbiota and the gut. And this is like a frontier to use the feed additive in animal as all of them, and I want to underline this, as a dietary strategy to upregulate on and downregulate the expression of selected gene. All of these genes are strongly related to the microbiota in ruminants. In particular, at the moment, the most of the experience are on ruminants. And I would say, once again, cows and buffalo. So there are frontiers to work on. I hope I replied to the question.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to make a question myself.
Yeah.
How do circular economy and bioeconomy differ? And if so, how are these approaches connected?
Actually, circular economy, I would say it's a general, I would say a general term to define all this area of research, in general of research, from all kind of point of view, economical point of view, social and so on point of view. For bioeconomy, it is when this kind of speech, this kind of approach is applied to the biology. In our case, it's a really multidisciplinary approach, because of course it's the main approach is on biology, but as I told in my presentation, there is also the physiology strongly involved in this kind of discussion, because in our example, in our experience, since we are using a dietary strategy, our focus is, of course, the physiology of nutrition, for example, in a biology, of course, system. And the connection is multilateral. I would say they are strongly connected each other.
Well, thank you very much. That are all the questions. And the organization committee of the symposium would like to thank you again through the digital certificate that we will send to you, and that reads, I can read it. Aviaer grants this certificate of participation to Dr. Francesco Vizzarri, who participated as workshop speaker with the talk Environmental Sustainability, Circular Economy in Livestock Production. And if there is not another comment from the audience, we will thank Dr. Francesco Vizzarri.
I thank you very, very much for your welcome, for the opportunity to participate and to present our research area.
Thank you, Doctor. Please